Okay, so now what I've done is I've actually taken the plasma cutter and I have removed my cross member right down there. So the cross member is now removed here underneath the oil pan. So I have full access to that at any point that I want now. I've been looking at Jason's video really close, and basically what I do is I run it and then I freeze it so that I can see exactly what he had done. Now, on the driver's side, it looks like what he has done on the driver's side is basically, you can see this right here, this piece of plate metal here is spot welded to the actual lower frame rail here, and it's also done the same on this side as well. Well, you can tell in his video that he basically took this off, that piece off, so it's all going to go down to this point right here. It looks like what he also did is he cut this area right here all the way basically straight, and I know the light's getting kind of dark here. Let me see if I can fix that. There we go. So he basically cut all the way straight down here on the driver's side all the way to this area right there, and then just, you know, came straight down this angle here and then cut all that off on his particular example. Now you have to remember too that he also left the front side of this cross member in place. Okay, so basically on his example, everything down to this bottom lower frame, took it off, cut down basically to where when you take that that longer, this is the driver's side, when you take that longer blind nut plate, you will basically stick it right here on sitting, it'll be flat, it'll sit flat like this in this area, and you'll weld it to this frame here. But you also need to have like a little bit of this metal right here to weld it on as well. So it's going to be welded all along the side here, all along, you know, the around on the frame rail, and then, you know, down to wherever it ends basically. And that's basically how that particular driver's side plate fits in here and mounts. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to again do the same thing he did. I'm going to take this off right here. I'm going to cut right here all the way to here, nice and straight, and then I'm going to run it down at that angle there, and so all of this will be removed, and I'll have full access to this right here. And I will not be cutting out at this time these bolts here for the old motor mount bolts, basically the old plates. So at this time I will not be getting rid of that, but I might, I don't know, we'll have to see. But for now, I'm going to clean this up by making that straight cut there. Now, on the passenger side, one of the things that I noticed that he did pretty much the same thing. He pretty much took all of this off right here. He also pretty much cut straight here. But when he got over to this hole, you see this hole here? I noticed that he came and he kind of jogged down, and he went around the bottom of that hole, went back up, and then went for a little ways to about, it looks to be seriously like right at the end of this. And then it looked like what he did was he kind of come down here and he made the top of this factory hole part of his, you know, metal structure here, and then he went straight off that top edge clear out to the end there. That's what he did. He actually left that hole in place and then came back up, cut here, and then angled down to there, and then ran along straight with this top edge here all the way to the end of the cross member. Again, remember, he has left the front of this in place where I'm not doing that. But I'm gonna clean all this up and make it look pretty nice. But again, I think maybe at the time, in the heat of the moment, he might have been thinking to himself that this bolt hole is for something. And I can tell you that I know for a fact that, at least on my car, this had no purpose. So I'm gonna do the same as he did on his driver's side over there. I'm gonna remove all of this right here, and I'm gonna cut straight all the way out here and right up to this part right there, and then I'm going to cut along this angle here to there, and all this is going to come out. That's exactly kind of how I'm planning to do it. But again, you know, I don't know if it's my lights. There we go. It's getting a little dark here all of a sudden. It kind of waving in and out. But anyway, I'm trying to make my stuff nice and straight to where it looks clean and it looks factory when we're all done. Again, I think Jason did a great job, no doubt about it. But I can tell you that on my car, that hole there has no purpose. I'm not going to save that. I'm going to cut all the way straight out. And then I know that he probably came down to this area right here and made a straight edge just to give a little reinforcement here. But again, remember, I'm going to build my own custom brace, and if I feel like it needs that reinforcement, I'll build something in here later to make that happen. But for right now, what I want is clean, and I want compact. I want clean, lots of space. That's what I'm looking for. That's my goal here. So basically, you're going to leave all of this in and all of this in on both sides. Oh, and then the other thing too, on the driver's side, I finally did see a spot in the video. This light's really getting wonky here. I don't know why. There we go. So in the video, you could actually see a spot in there if you slowed it down where he was like, you know, panning from left to right really quick. If you stopped it just in time, I actually finally saw that C-channel mounted right here on the driver's side. So that's exactly where I intend to put it, and just like he did, and that allows room for the plumbing, and I guess that'll be my next step. Okay, so just got done with my next step. Now, if you'll notice, I have not used any measurements yet. I don't know if I ever will, but again, remember, they're not the spec, they're not the standard, but they may be helpful. But so far, I have not used anything that involves a measurement. I've just basically been going off of, you know, what I like to call monuments, or, you know, little things on here that you're going to probably find on every single car. And as you recall, I had this, you know, like this rib right here. There's two ribs up here for the lower control arm well bucket, and then right over here there was also a rib right here for this cross member as it went down here to the other side. And basically what I did was I cut that straight along that line right there, just trying to keep it flat with this frame rail, because what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the grinder to do the rest of my work, I think, at this point, to dress it up. Probably use the welder a little bit to weld a few things in. You know, now that I've gotten rid of this, you know, this is definitely going to take all the stress. So instead of relying on these spot welds, I'm probably going to go ahead and weld them on just to make sure that they stay there. I don't know if that's actually necessary or not, but I don't care. I'm going to do it anyway. And so anyway, this right here, you can see I took and I cut straight along basically this ridge right here, this flat spot, keeping it flat with the bottom of the frame, and then I freehanded it, and I basically went towards the bottom of the car, so that way I could grind it down that way and make it nice and flat and make it look good. So if I would have cut that way instead, then, you know, I can't put that material back on without actually welding another piece of metal, or, you know, using the welder to build it up. So I thought it'd be smarter if I just kept coming down here, since I had something to write against, making my cut, and then right here actually start pulling away. That way I could do the work with the grinder. And then once I got right over here to this cross member down, this down slope here, and I know this is sideways, but the car's on the rotisserie. But on this down slope, I got the gun inside here and pointed it this way, and just ran right inside that, you know, 90-degree corner ridge right there. And I ran it all the way down here. And then just because I thought it looked kind of dumb with this, you know, this sharp 90-degree corner, I went ahead and made a cut here at kind of like a, you know, sort of a 45. And basically, on the front side here, you notice that these spot welded, you know, tabs right here on this little part that, I don't know, basically this is where the the lower control arm well kind of meets into the cross member right here, and they spot welded it right there. And so I'm leaving those on there. I've got about, I got, let's see, counting 1, 2, 3, and then if you, well, no, it's 3, I'm sorry. 1, and then 2, and then 3 metal layers thick. Now I'm gonna probably take a hammer and hammer that flat and then put some welds right there to make it just, again, look kind of nice. And then my plan is, I think so far, just based upon everything that I've been thinking about as far as how I want to bolt and unbolt this cross member that I'm going to put in here, I'm thinking of actually putting a hole right here and then welding a blind, a nut either on the front or the back side, I don't know which one, but welding a nut on there somehow. And then this is probably going to be one of the places where I bolt this cross member. Now, of course, that'll help, keep the cross member in place. But, with just one bolt, the car can actually, do this a little bit. And so I'll either put, like 1 or 2 bolts here, or maybe I'll put 1 bolt here, and then on the back side here, kind of get some heavy metal and then kind of twist it. And, just to give it another plane to grab a hold of, and maybe even, tie into this right here somehow with a bolt or something. But again, just wanting to make it, pretty simple, easy to access and service when I have, the vehicle all together, but also making it as strong as I possibly can. I'm not completely decided yet whether I'm going to be keeping this hole down here, because again, I'm going to be doing different motor mounts. I'm going to be doing modernized style motor mounts, and technically they're really only going to be, the pipes are only like this wide. So, I mean, as you can see here, you've got this plate that goes clear out here and it comes clear across here. It's like, as wide as my hand, and these pipes are basically as wide as this. So I can actually, I don't know, maybe cut this off, because I won't be using these bolts for anything. Although I am thinking about maybe grinding or cutting down to the, I guess the edge of this hole right here, a straight line. That way, it has like a little bit of an angle iron strength right here. I might leave that in. I'm not positive sure yet, but nonetheless, you can see that and this particular, the driver's side, I have cut here all the way there inside of that slope and just chamfered that off there at a 45. And I've done the same thing down here, a little bit wackier, but again, going to use the grinder now to clean it all up. But you can clearly see I did the same thing, just kind of made the cut right along that, the bottom of the frame rail here. Now, supposedly that small plate, and I'll be getting those materials out here pretty soon. I didn't want to get them out. They're all in these boxes right here. I didn't want to really get them out today, just because I wanted to make my cuts. But here pretty soon I'm going to start showing, what the materials are. But there's a plate right here with a blind nut. I'll have to make a hole right here to stick that inside of, so that the nut is on the back side. And then that is one of the mounting locations of where the rack and pinion will hang on to. And so we have to actually, grind all this off. And again, I think it's going to be a lot easier to do that with a grinder. And then on the driver's side, I know for a fact that plate is much longer. It's not just a little square that fits right on the bottom. It actually comes out here a little ways. So in doing that, I want to leave some of this material, this sidewall right here, in there to where I can actually place a bead of weld to hang on to that. And I don't know, I haven't really fitted in here yet, but I think it will actually come all the way over here to this wall where I can place a weld there as well. And that'll really make this boxy and strong as well. Honestly, in all honesty, I might actually look and see if it's possible to modify this to box this off a little bit. And I might even end up doing the same thing on the passenger side as well as the what's going to happen over here on the driver's side, because technically if you were to actually run that plate clear up here and weld it there, that would box this up. That would make this really super strong. Some people watching this might think, well, gee, you're cutting a lot of material away there and it's kind of making you nervous about the strength factor and turning and suspension and all that kind of stuff. Well, I'm fully aware of that, and I am certainly definitely thinking of all kinds of ideas to, you know, more effectively strengthen this when we go back together. But again, that rack and pinion is supposed to be an actual structural device itself. But even though that is the case, as I've said before, I don't want it to be the tell-all as far as, you know, knowing that that's it. That's what's going to hold this whole front end from, you know, from this frame rail to this frame rail to be, you know, twisting and whatnot, because we certainly don't want to rely on the motor mounts, which are going to be urethane. You don't want to rely on them tying, you know, this side to that side, you know, when you're doing your twisting and turning. But I will, of course, when we're all done, I will be having some, you know, strut bar braces up on top above the engine. At least that's my plan. But again, I'm not going to be factory on that either. I won't be using a carburetor, at least that's not my plan. And a big old 5.0 style manifold may not allow me to do that. So this is why I'm definitely wanting to do everything I can to make sure that all the strength is down here in the bottom like it needs to be. And then we'll go ahead and assemble this and put this up on YouTube. You guys get to watch it, and maybe, hopefully, this will really help you guys when you go to put this rack and pinion in your 71 to 73, or even your earlier model. I mean, I don't know if this would pertain in the same way, but definitely from 71 to 73, I'm a little disappointed in that, not Jason from Auto Edits, but a little disappointed in Total Control Products, that they don't have better drawings and a more exacting video of exactly how you can do this, especially for, again, for somebody who has not done a lot of fab work like I have, or Jason for that matter. All right, well, that's this step that I've made. Now I'm going to go on to doing the grinding, and then I'll show you that.